And now, Knock 2 Studios presents Common Censored.
And here we have some footage from the latest Joe Biden event. In case you guys were wondering what's going on, the sheeple are at it again. What's up, everybody? And welcome back to Common Censored. All of you censored commoners out there, thanks for joining us today. This is episode 157. And I'm your host, Lord Sterling. We broadcast live Monday through Friday, 6:30-ish p.m. Eastern Time. Thanks for joining us today. Make sure to use hashtag CommonCensored when you share the broadcast on X, where you can find us at _CommonCensored. Links to all of the videos and topics and everything we cover today will be down in the description after the live broadcast ends. So if you're watching this later on and need to focus your attention to maximize your efficiency of your time usage, click on down there, and Mama Mac will be adding timestamps to the articles and everything as we cover them, so you can check out the topics that interest you, then jump right to the time in our video when we cover them. Thanks to Mama Mac. Shout out to Mama Mac and fam, and make sure to check out alpllama.com, your new herbal health guru, where Mama Mac and her fam will take care of you. They'll take good care of you, give you a tincture for any ailment you may have. And if you want to support the show directly, you can head over to our Linktree /CommonCensored, and there's a couple subscription models over there and everything like that. So thanks for checking that out in advance. Disclaimer: views expressed on Common Censored are only opinions. Assume everything we say is false and research for yourself. We're not giving medical, legal, or financial advice. The only advice we are giving is think for yourself. Question authority. Think for yourself. Question authority. And let's jump into the topics today with Gator's quote of the day. Good judgment comes from experience, and a lot of that comes from bad judgment. Will Rogers, good quote there, and I know all you guys know what's up with that. I'm sure you're all familiar with that phenomenon to one degree or another. So yeah, we had a lot of interesting and crazy stuff happen over the weekend. We had a meteor fly real low over Spain and Portugal. Did you guys see this? Check this out. People just hanging out, and then whoa, right overhead. Pretty crazy. That's low altitude. Good thing its trajectory was slightly abeam of Earth, because otherwise that could have been pretty problematic. But what a spectacle. This girl captured a really good video of it. She's kind of hanging out, doing the girl selfie thing, and then surprised by what happens overhead. This is a funny one. People are probably like, oh shit, is that a missile? You know what I'm given the circumstances that we're all experiencing. Speaking of which, Got all kinds of crazy news related to the potential World War III situation, as well as the helicopter carrying the Iranian president and mass murderer Ibrahim Raisi crashed over the weekend. He's been confirmed dead. Meanwhile, Victoria Nuland, the de facto president of Ukraine, says the U.S. should bomb Russia because she doesn't have any, any bias or anything related to that whole topic. Totally insane. We've got an issue in Tunisian citizens protesting against immigration, and there's a $1 billion deal with the European Union to curb migrant ships, leaving tens of thousands of sub-Saharan Africans stranded on the Mediterranean coast. So good, slick with that. A Trump-appointed judge has blocked Biden's ATF rule expanding gun background checks. We got a little bit of victory there. We have a Donald Trump Minnesota rally over the weekend that turned into a stand-up comedy event as he ditched the teleprompter and brought out some props and did all kinds of fun stuff. Today, Judge Merchan got his panties in a twist, basically, and screamed at Trump's defense witness, Robert Costello, telling him to get out of the courtroom, as Michael Cohen reveals that he stole tens of thousands of dollars from Trump org. Meanwhile, we've got another story about governments colluding, our government specifically colluding with NGOs kind of puppeting our government to launder billions of dollars and bring in millions of illegals into our country. So that's definitely not an orchestrated operation to destabilize the government or anything, to pave the way for communism. A tried and true operation that's been going on for over 100 years all throughout Europe and now here. Craziness. Super nuts. Meanwhile, Trump supporting, allegedly, it could be CIA, people from the U.S., Utah, go over to the Congo, and try to overthrow the government over there. That's a weird story. Let me know what you guys think about that. Well, back at home, no units to send to you. People are calling the police, and the police are telling them, we got nothing. We got nothing to help you. You're on your own, which I predicted a couple years ago and was told that I was crazy, basically, on this old podcast that I was on for a little bit. But let's jump into the news. We'll hop over to the Iranian situation first, as a helicopter carrying Iranian president and mass murderer Ibrahim Raisi crashes over the weekend. And the rescue effort was indeed hampered by crazy weather. Jones was talking about it over the weekend. He's a helicopter guy himself. Likes flying around on copters to go on vacations and to fly up to Louder with Crowder and stuff. And he was saying that, nope, you just don't fly if the wind is over 30 miles per hour. They'll have a whole trip planned out, and it'll that morning will arrive, or even the night before, and he'll get a phone call saying, the wind's too high, we can't go out. That's kind of just the way it works with helicopters. You don't fly if it's bad weather. Fog, not good. Wind, really not good. This guy crashed over the weekend. There was a convoy of 4 helicopters, I believe, and 3 of them made it to their destinations. But the one with the president ended up crashing. And the Iranian president, Ibrahim Raisi, has indeed been confirmed dead after rescuers reached the crash site. This is definitely bizarre, to say the least. Why were they flying? Why did only 3 of them make it to the destination? Is there some kind of intelligence involvement? Israel has denied responsibility. But it's a mess. Nothing to see here. Who knows, D? It could be anything. Could be anything. Could be Project Bluebeam. Could be some kind of, who knows? Who knows? It's impossible to tell the difference between reality and illusions nowadays, D. Hope you're doing well, by the way, and hope Alicia's doing well after having to head to the emergency room at the end of the broadcast last week. Experts are warning that the Iran situation could trigger the final world war. Let's hop over to Jones for a second and see what's going on with that.
I was talking to Tucker this morning, and we were just discussing how the globalists are insane and are planning to push everybody into total war.
Sheepdog.
That's their obvious plan. We're in basically the beginnings of total war. And I said, yeah, it really is World War III. And he said, it's the final war. And I told him, well, I said, I'm using that, actually. That's what this should be called. They said World War I was the war to end all wars. Killed so many tens of millions of people and was so horrible. With modern weapons, but with old-fashioned tactics of troops just running in against each other.
Right. Oh
with
my
18th
God,
century military mindset. That with
people wanted to get rid of General Patton before World War II, after World War I, for introducing the American tank program. He was obsessed with the German General Rommel and his whole tank operation that they had over there. And people thought it was treason after World War I to replace cavalry with tanks and motorcycles. So that's kind of interesting. People don't necessarily always want to change with the times, even if things get better, which they don't always do, clearly.
20th century technology. But then, of course, World War II came along and killed even more people. And then really they call the Third World at the Third World War, the Cold War at the CIA. That's so they would call what's happening now World War IV. But I really think Tucker's right.
Makes
if
sense
it goes
to me.
full war,
Ed, what's
it'll
up,
be
dude?
the final
Shout out
war.
to everybody in chat.
At least for a few thousand years, they estimate we even survive. If anybody survives, most estimates are 90% of people on Earth will die within 10 years of a full nuclear war. Half of them in just a few hours, and then the rest from the breakdown of society and civilization and starvation and the little side wars that will come with it. It was Einstein said, I don't know how World War III will be fought, but I know that World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones.
While other networks lie to you about...
Yeah, that's right, Mama Mac. We're wargaming a 2024 bingo contest where Mama Mac has a website where you can go and make a bingo card of your own. And we're getting people to make 2024 bingo predictions. And we'll see if anybody's able to accomplish bingo with some crazy predictions for 2024. And we'll maybe give out some merch or some books, copies of our Common Sense and Common Censored, which you can find on Amazon. And I got some merch in the works that'll be fun too. Let's continue here.
What's happening now? InfoWars tells you the truth about what's happening next. Visit Infowars.com/show and share the link today.
InfoWars.
The final war has begun. World War III watch. Iran's president. Fatal chopper crash. Set to make region more volatile. Coup, civil war rumors swirl in Iran.
Oh, so crazy. And yeah, join our Discord if you want to get in on the bingo stuff. We'll make a thread over there in the Discord. Link in the description for the Discord community. It's an information infantry barracks / info relay outpost to help serve as a force multiplier and little community hangout area. All kinds of good stuff over there.
I think Tucker Carlson has coined the term, I haven't heard him use it on air, he probably has, the final war. In fact, maybe I wrote that headline hastily for the live show about 5 minutes before we went live. Let's punch up the live show headline again. Maybe I should change that in live time and have the great Ben Warren update it for me and also update it on X.
That's right, Sheepdog. No feds allowed on the Discord. Except me.
Let me see.
Chat thinks
Nuclear
I'm a secret
War
fed.
Watch. Everybody has heard World War III too much. Nuclear War Watch. Iran president's fatal copter crash escalates the threat You see some of them like, how do you even,
Let's
one of them,
skip ahead a
Brazil's
little
trying
bit
to kill NATO once, ongoing doctrine. And then Israel doesn't want to be the bad guy, but they've been trying to manipulate a wider regional war. And they've already toppled Libya
Maybe at the tip of the iceberg.
and Iraq.
Yeah, notice all these countries that are not involved with the central bank systems getting toppled over. Pretty interesting. Libya, we know Gaddafi was trying to make a big, what was it called? It was going to call it the Afro, I think, instead of like the Euro. An African currency backed in gold. He was building a big bank, collecting gold reserves down there with a bunch of African countries coordinating on it. Got to get rid of any countries that interfere with the bank system. I'm not sure, I can't remember the exact point in this video that I'm looking for, but let's skip ahead to our next topic since it's related. And we'll come back to this a little bit later. We got to keep it moving, keep it moving. We've got Victoria Nuland saying that the U.S. should bomb Russia, which is completely insane. Let's check this one out.
They need to be able to stop these Russian attacks that are coming from bases inside Russia. So I think there's also a question of whether we, the United States and our allies, ought to give them more help in hitting Russian bases, which heretofore we've not been willing to do. I think if the attacks are coming directly from over the line in Russia, that those bases ought to be fair game, whether they are where missiles are being launched from or where they are where troops are being supplied from. I think it's time for that because Russia has obviously escalated this war, including, as you said at the beginning, attacking Russia's second city, Kharkiv, which is not on the front lines, and trying to decimate it without ever having to put a boot on the ground. So I think it is time to give the Ukrainians more help hitting these bases inside Russia.
One of the reasons that the administration has hesitated is because they believe it will escalate things even further with Russia pull the U.S. further in. Why not? Why? So why do you think that's a good idea?
Because it's Russia that has escalated this war. Russia has learned how to pull its forces back out of the range where we have allowed Ukraine to use our weapons and get our support. So they are getting a direct advantage in this war from our hesitation, and they have escalated massively. As you know, they have flattened a third of Kharkiv without ever having to get on the ground there. So it is time to stop that and help Ukraine push them back.
Insane. So I noticed some parallels going on between what's going on right now with Russia and Ukraine and what happened at the start of World War II with a similar incident. I've talked about before the Operation Gleiwitz, where the Nazis allegedly took some Jews, dressed them up in Polish army outfits, shot them, claimed that the Polish were trying to attack a German radio station, and that gave them a pretext, a false flag attack, giving them Germany the pretext to enter World War II. At least that's the official narrative, as it came out during the Nuremberg trials, which apparently I'm learning were the confessions were extracted from torture. But the interesting thing, when the Soviet Union broke up and Ukraine was made its own country, there was sections of ethnic Russians that became encapsulated in part of Ukraine over in the Donbass region. And in 2014, after the Maidan coup, the Ukrainians started shelling the Donbass region, killing ethnic Russians. And of course, when Hitler Putin invaded, they're saying, "Oh, he's starting a war." But his explanation was, "Well, I'm trying to defend the ethnic Russians in the Donbass region." Well, after World War I, in the Treaty of Vienna, Germany was broken up as well, and sections of Germany ended up being parts of Poland, Czechoslovakia, and other countries. And leading up to World War II, there were apparently ethnic Germans in Poland that were being slaughtered by the Poles. 58,000 ethnic Germans were apparently murdered, culminating in an event that was called Bloody Sunday, I think. And Germany invaded Poland allegedly to help the ethnic Russians or ethnic Germans that were being killed by the Poles. It sounds almost exactly like what's happening right now with Russia, and Russia's being blamed just like Germany was being blamed. So crazy parallels. Both are being painted as evil. Of course, the history books are written by the victors. So I don't know what's going on. It's sketchy.
Lots of dominoes have already been knocked over in Eastern Europe. The open borders, the collapse of the third world with the COVID lockdowns across the planet. It's happening in the South China Sea, the Middle East. October 7th. And then every time each group escalates more dominoes fall until you go up Rand Corporation's threat escalation ladder to full nuclear war. And that's what Victoria Nuland's saying. She's saying, we need more dominoes to fall and go that direction.
While other networks lie to you
So they're trying to drag
they're
trying to drag Russia into World War. Seems like they also did the same thing during World War I and World War II. Dragged people into war, started these conflicts to solidify the control of the central banks in these various areas. Now, Russia doesn't want to participate with the central banks, just like Libya didn't, just like Germany didn't, just like Iraq didn't, just like all these countries that end up being invaded by the puppet states of the international banking cartel, the US, the UK, all of these various countries. It's crazy. So Russia obviously is trying to combine forces with China and Brazil to create the BRICS currency, a gold-backed currency, which would destroy the confidence in the dollar and the fiat international banking cartels' currencies. We've talked before about how when you look at all the currencies that are the main currencies now, they're all falling in unison, being devalued, but they're all staying relatively worth the same to each other. So it creates the illusion of a relatively stable economy. If you had a gold currency join the mix, gold would hold its value and it would reveal that all of the other currencies are dropping. So they can't allow that to happen. Hence, we got to start World War IV, I guess, with Russia and China, because they're not going along with the banking stuff. It's all about the money. It's all about the banks. It's all about using economic conquest to centralize power towards a global government. At least that's my opinion. Let's hop over to Tunisia for our next story. Tunisian citizens protest against immigration. 1 billion something deal. Is that what currency is that? The euro. Okay, yeah, it's the euro. 1 billion euro deal with the EU to curb migrant ships leaves tens of thousands of sub-Saharan Africans stranded in the Mediterranean coast. Paul Sarin wrote this article over at the Gateway Pundit. Unchecked mass migration is one of the key geopolitical issues of our days, one that mobilizes passions both in the U.S., the EU, and most of the Western world. But now, the troubles of illegal migration are starting to affect other parts of the world, with Eastern Europe up in arms against it, and even North Africa, where citizens in Tunisia are protesting against it. Hundreds of Tunisians marched through the coastal town of Jebeniana to protest the presence of sub-Saharan migrants, quote unquote. These unwanted guests have found themselves stranded on their way to Europe as the country ramps up border patrol efforts. Anti-migrant anger is mounting as the Tunisian coastline became a boarding place for thousands of people hoping to reach Europe by boat. AP reported, quote, chanting slogans to oppose settling migrants in Tunisia. Protesters demanded the government act to assist agricultural communities dealing with thousands of migrants living in tarpaulin encampments among their olive groves. Quote, you brought them here and it's your responsibility to send them back to your home countries. Mohamed Salemi, a 63-year-old retiree from nearby Al Amra, said of the protest. At the protest, there is a shortage of food throughout the city of Al Amra, including sugar, flour, bread, and many other items. And adding a whole bunch of migrants to the system probably stresses that further. A final step for many who dream of a better life in Europe, Jebeniana and El Amra reflect the compounding problems facing Tunisia, a key transit point for migrants from Syria, Bangladesh, and a variety of sub-Saharan African nations. Police have expanded their presence in the area. 83,000 Tunisians now have to live among a growing number of migrants from around the world. It seems like they use third world populations to destabilize Western civilizations and first and second world populations. This is like one of the main tactics that's been used all throughout the past 150 years, it seems. Like it's happening here right now with our border. The Tunisian, protesters say they've borne the cost of Tunisia's effort to prevent migrants from reaching the European Union less than a year after the country brokered an anti-migration pact with the 27-country bloc to better police its sea border and receive more than 1 billion euros. So they cut off people ending up in Europe, and now everybody's getting trapped over in Tunisia. The Tunisian Coast Guard said it has prevented more than 21,000 migration attempts by land or sea this year. Fewer than 8,000 successfully traveled by boat from Tunisia to Italy for the first 4 months of 2024, a threefold decrease from 2022, according to the UN refugee agency UNHCR. In late 2023, the city of Sfax saw the appearance of the first anti-migrant protests, which erupted on African soil. Now the protests have expanded to Jebeniana and also El Amra, where a protest also took place a few weeks ago. Tens of thousands of migrants are now living near Jebeniana and El Amra. So Why are all these migrants moving? It seems like the UN and these NGOs are orchestrating and funding, because it takes infrastructure and money to move this amount of people. It seems like this is all being orchestrated by these NGOs, these big NGOs that we're going to be talking about shortly. UN, non-governmental organizations, all colluding to flood Europe and North America with migrants. And it's backfiring as the European countries are saying no, at least some of them. And a lot of these people are getting trapped in Tunisia now, causing problems over there. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Let's jump back to the U.S. for a minute. We'll come back to Europe probably in a little as well. No! Trump-appointed judge blocks Biden's ATF rule expanding gun background checks. Booyah, Grandma! Another win for us following the Ninth Circuit's ruling that allows nonviolent felons now in certain places to purchase firearms. I know Natron said he's going to be working on that. Hopefully he keeps us updated, lets us know how that's going. This article is by Christina Layla over at the Gateway Pundit. A federal judge on Sunday issued a temporary restraining order against the Biden administration, stopping the unconstitutional ATF rule expanding gun background checks. Last month, the Biden regime announced the implementation of the, quote, engaged in the business final rule. The final rule, the final solution, aimed to close the so-called, quote, gun show loophole, ensuring that all gun dealers, regardless of where they sell firearms, comply with federal background check requirements. Sounds like a violation of all kinds of rights to me. Just the fact that the federal government is regulating firearm sales at all. The Second Amendment is pretty clear, in my opinion. This is not supposed to be happening. Firearms Policy Coalition wrote, quote, there's no such thing as a, quote, gun show loophole, unquote. And despite everything wrong with this despotic overreach, ATF even makes this clear when answering the public comments of, quote, supporters. Your intentionally deceitful commentary mirrors that of history's most vile government actors. Isn't that the truth? And they posted this thing. See Section 2C of this preamble. The department also notes that the term, quote, gun show loophole is a misnomer in that there is no statutory exemption under the GCA for unlicensed persons to engage in the business of dealing firearms at a gun show or any other venue. Man, it's so frustrating that they keep coming after us. Let's hop to one of Trump's rallies from over the weekend. Over in Minnesota, new Donald Trump Minnesota rally practically turns into a stand-up comedy skit as he ditches the teleprompter. Amazing, Colin Rugg writes on X, @Colin Rugg, Colin with 2 L's and Rugg with 2 G's. Trump even used props, including a Biden Tic Tac dispenser to highlight Bidenflation. At one point, Trump said Biden was, quote, high as a kite. Looking up there, is that you up there, Joe? And demanded that he take a drug test before the debates. Yeah, Biden's like Adolf Hitler, all jacked up on methamphetamines or something half the time. Quote, I'm going to demand a drug test. I don't want him coming in like the State of the Union. He was high as a kite. Let's check out some of Trump roasting Biden.
But Americans are not struggling. You know, this is the worst platform. Who put this stage up here? This is the worst. The frickin' place is falling down. It keeps tilting.
That's Joe Biden's
left.
America.
Like too many other
things. Did he tell it again, Ed?
What a crappy contractor this was. He's all about disinformation. Pilots come in, he said, I used to fly a plane. Truckers come in, I used to drive a truck.
Yeah.
People
I grew
come
up in the
in
black
from
churches.
Minnesota. I used to live in Minnesota. Right? He is so full of shit, this guy. Terrible. No, I have fake Tapper as they said, I just want to debate this guy, but, you know, and I'm gonna demand a drug test, too, by the way.
Yeah.
No, I really am. I don't want him coming in like the State of the Union. He was high as a kite. Is that Joe up there? A beautiful rope. And by the end of the evening, he's like, well, it was exhausted, right? You know, it's a funny thing. Man. I don't know if you can see it out there. Does anybody have good eyes out there? Because this is, okay, so I just got this today. Somebody handed it to me. It's a weird, and not as a joke. I said, anybody have any Tic Tacs? And the guy said, yeah, I have one. Look at the size of that sucker. Could you?
Tiny.
Can you
Holy
see that, Pete?
Balls.
This is
it's like a jewel cartridge
Biden
or something.
Tic Tacs.
Biden Tic Tacs.
Can you see it, Tom? This costs more money than the one that was like 10 times bigger. This is inflation. That's a perfect. The guy actually handed me. Do you have any Tic Tacs? Yeah, here, take mine, sir. I said, what the hell is that? Thank you very much.
He brought out a podium, too, and was like, I'm trying to get Joe to debate recently at one of his rallies. Hilarious. Mama Mac, my dad would have said, so full of shit his eyes are brown. Good one. Good one. Like 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag, Mama Mac. Let's hop over to one of Trump's trials. Judge Merchan today in New York. Freaking out, a fuming Judge Merchan runs interference for Bragg. Shouts at Trump defense witness Robert Costello, get out of the courtroom now! President Trump was back in Manhattan court today on Monday in Alvin Bragg's Soviet-style hush money lawfare trial. The prosecutors earlier Monday rolled out their, quote, star witness, Michael Cohen, convicted perjurer, to take the witness stand. Cohen shocked the public when he admitted he stole tens of thousands of dollars from Trump and lied to Trump org CFO Alan Weisselberg. After the prosecution rested their case, Trump's defense team called attorney Robert Costello to the witness stand. Recall that Robert Costello previously blasted Michael Cohen as a convicted perjurer and said Bragg's prosecutors cherry-picked emails. Crooked Judge Merchan excoriated Costello and cleared the courtroom.
In a raised voice.
Jake, the judge has just cleared the entire courtroom.
Yeah.
It appears that now this has escalated to a security concern, and the overflow is cut. We're not getting any more information. I mean, the fact that this has escalated to this
so bananas. Here's the exchange between Judge Merchan and Robert Costello, courtesy of the Gateway Pundit contributor Paul Ingracia, who's inside of the New York courtroom live reporting. Merchan grows irate, begins excoriating Robert Costello on the stand for making a few offhanded remarks and rolling his eyes during the testimony. Merchan, are you staring me down right now? Costello, I'm not. Merchan, get out of the courtroom now! Get out of the courtroom! Video cuts out. Merchan, that's so hilarious, man. I don't know where that accent came from, by the way, but TGP's Paul Ingracia said the trial resumed after a delay following a fiery exchange between Judge Merchan and Bob Costello. Mershon is absolutely seething over Costello's damning testimony, the type of treatment Costello, an experienced prosecutor who once worked for the U.S. Attorney's Office in New York in the 70s and early 80s, is receiving on the witness stand from the judge is disgusting, Paul and Gracia said. Mershon is visibly perturbed, condescending, and downright abusive of the witness on the stand. Outrageous behavior from a judge and totally inappropriate for any courtroom. No decorum whatsoever. And Gracia said, quite the colorful description of that. I bet CNN is saying the exact opposite. Judge Mershon giving the witness what he deserves. Judge Mershon ran interference for Alvin Bragg and continued to shout at Costello via Paul and Gracia. Bragg, prosecutor, did you say Michael Cohen was acting like a drama queen? Yes or no? Costello, I said I didn't know if Michael Cohen was acting like a drama queen. Mershon again chastises Costello from the stand. Would you just answer yes or no? You don't like drama queens, do you? The Bragg prosecutor says. What a bunch of nonsense. So, yeah, Soviet-style show trial, just like they said. That's what this all seems to be. Just a bunch of star panel show trial bullshit. MSNBC defends Michael Cohen stealing $30,000 from Trump org. Of course, they're going to do the exact opposite of everything that places like Gateway Pundit would do. Say, oh, it's revealed he stole the money. And MSNBC's like, it's not really a bad thing. As much as you hate the media, it's still not enough, Christina Layla writes. President Trump was back in Manhattan Court Monday, as we know, and they rolled out Michael Cohen, who shocked the public. He also said he would lie to the jury if it affected his personal life. That's an interesting little tidbit. Michael Cohen reveals he has a financial interest in the outcome, admits he'll lie to the jury. Check that out. Link will be in the description as well. But MSNBC's Lawrence O'Donnell defended Trump's former lawyer turned rat, Michael Cohen, stealing $30K from the Trump organization and lying to its CFO, Alan Weisselberg. Lawrence O'Donnell said it wasn't really stealing because Michael Cohen said he deserved a bonus. Makes sense. Let's check out this clip.
Inside the courtroom, you've been there almost every day. You have the strength of beyond mortal men. But what was worth it to you today? What did you see? What did you hear?
Well, the courtroom is where I began as a writer and a reporter a long time ago. So this is a homecoming for me in terms of a workplace. The shocking thing at the end of that cross-examination, and I just can't tell you how stunning it was, because it's the thing that I was waiting for. I saw everything Todd Blanche. I've seen every minute of cross-examination. I've seen every single question he's asked. And he sat down and ended his cross-examination without asking a single question about the $130,000 that appears on the Alan Weisselberg notes about how they were structuring the payment to Michael Cohen. He asked about the $50,000 that's irrelevant to the $130,000, and that's where he very effectively got Michael Cohen to agree that yes, he stole $30,000. Later, when Cohen was asked about that on redirect by the prosecution, it didn't really sound like stealing $30,000. It sounded a lot like Michael Cohen doing the little that he could within that calculation to rebalance the bonus he thought he deserved, and it still came out as less than the bonus he thought he deserved and the bonus he'd gotten the year before.
So you could just take the money because you think you deserve that bonus based on last year. MSNBC. Total clown world. Crazy B, thanks for all of your help, Crazy B. Make sure to check out Crazy B Gaming, guys. Yep. What a clown show. And jumping over to the article about him lying, saying he'll lie to the jury if it affects his personal life. Check this out. He also said he would lie to the jury if it affected his personal life. Unbelievable. Here's the exchange between Trump's lawyer, Todd Blanche, and Michael Cohen, courtesy of Paul and Gracia. Blanche, did you mean it when you said revenge is a dish best served cold? Cohen, yes, sir. Blanche, you were willing to lie under oath if it affects your personal life, correct? Cohen, I don't understand your question. Blanche, you testified under oath months ago that you were willing to lie if it affects your personal life, correct? Cohen, yes, sir. Blanche, so I'm asking you the same question now. Would you still be willing to lie if it affects your personal life? Bragg prosecutor, objection. Merchant, objection sustained. Would you be willing to lie if it affects you personally? Blanche said. Cohen, yes, sir. So this guy is just a total joke, completely embarrassing. The prosecution. Were you lying then, Mr. Cohen, or are you lying now? It's pointless. Why even bring him out? Why even bring him out? Let's jump over to Redacted and talk a little bit about these NGOs manipulating the government from the top down, laundering billions of dollars. That's billions with a B. Big, bad, billions. And bringing in millions of, which is also big and bad, of illegals. Let's check it out. Major story broke over the weekend. This is huge.
Well, this story just keeps getting crazier and crazier. You better pay attention. Wake up, America, as to what is happening right now. The more we learn about it, the more troubling it is. The United States government working hand in hand with non-governmental organizations, NGOs, to bring millions of illegal immigrants into the United States. If you don't think this is all planned, then you need to get your head examined. Nothing happens by coincidence. This is all part of a massive operation. J.J. Carroll is a 24-year veteran of the Customs and Border Protection. And what he's just uncovered as part of his new documentary called Treason is just astonishing.
Aptly
J.J. has been
titled.
kind enough to send me dispatches of the documentary as they are filming this, and it's just jaw-dropping. Speaking with sources at these NGOs who don't want their face on camera, they don't want their voices on camera either. They are what they're telling JJ is just shocking. Listen.
Everybody share the broadcast right now because this is about to get real crazy. Make sure to use hashtag #CommonCensored when you share the show on X, where you can find us at _CommonCensored. Let's get back into the video because this is wild.
It was Jewish Family Services, and then you had Jewish Family Services who also had these underlying NGOs under them, whether it be Lutheran Family Services, Catholic Family Services, you know, and then all these different family services, but they all have the same parent company.
So you would pay Jewish Family Services, and then they would pay the...
It would pay all of the subcontractors, but they all have the same payee for the most part.
And JJ joins us now fresh off of that latest trip. JJ, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me, Clayton. I'm really excited about talking about this is the greatest
food, water, ammo
crime that is going to be uncovered in the next several years is the partnership between NGOs and the federal government in the tune of tens of billions of dollars, if not hundreds of billions of dollars after this 4-year term of Biden's over.
Spending hundreds of billions of dollars potentially to aid and abet the invasion of military-aged males into our country. This is obviously a destabilization attempt of the U.S., Cloward and Piven style. First you have subversion, then, first you have the disillusionment process. I can't remember what Yuri Bezmenov called it at the moment. But then you have the destabilization process. That's what we're in right now.
So you were just, you don't have to tell us the location because we don't want to give away any sources who you spoke with, who obviously didn't want their face on camera. But you went into this, I think, with some ideas about how these NGOs were operating, right? These non-governmental organizations, there's thousands of them that are ferreting individuals across the border.
Yeah, Save the Children is an NGO, I think.
Across the United States.
Unique
a lot of
prepping.
them with funding from the United States.
They talk about that in here too.
But when you set foot into these
Jill
interviews,
Biden.
Did it stun even you, or did you already know all of these things?
No, it did stun me. If I'm being completely honest, I had
this could all be considered trafficking.
Idea of what was going on, what was transpiring. But
bringing
when
illegals over the border,
talk to people that are inside those meetings. So the individual that I talked to was a DHS employee.
That's right, Sheepdog.
He was the guy that cut the checks.
To secure peace is to prepare for war, like Metallica. So good.
To the NGOs. And he's telling
Don't tread on
he's
me!
laying it out for me about what this looks like. He cut checks to Jewish Family Services, Catholic Charities, and a couple other. And I said, tell me about, just give me an example. And he goes, okay, Jewish Family Services. Let me explain how this works. So Jewish Family Services, I said, tell me the amount, okay, before you get started. He said, $600 million. And I said, okay, was that 2 or 3 years contract? He goes, no.
I feel you, Ed.
That was like 2, 3 to 6 months max.
Only defensively.
Max. And then he said, what was really stunning to me is this is where the money laundering scheme comes in. So he goes, you have Jewish Family Services at the top. He says they have 50, so let's just say 50 to 100 subcontractors underneath him. After I give them, he's telling me, after I cut that check for $600 million, then those smaller subcontractors that are responsible for food, clothing, housing, whatever that $600 million does not cover or did not cover enough, those subcontractors call us and say, we need 10 million here, we need 5 million here. And I say,
and they just
well, do you vet it? He goes, no, we're in emergency mode. So we cut the checks immediately. Immediately. And he says, but this is where it gets crazy, JJ. He said, when I cut the checks
Shout out
to the subcontractors, I'm cutting the check to the same payee. I'm sending the same funds to Jewish Family Services, the same account. So you have Jewish Family Services getting $600 million.
Definitely,
but you have 50 to 100 subcontractors that I'm paying, but I'm paying to the same bank account is Jewish Family Services.
Why is there all of these like Jewish connections? Like why Jewish people are like 2% of the American population. Why are Jewish Family Services orchestrating, bringing in tens of millions of people into the U.S.? Why are, it's just, I don't mean to be like conspiratorial, conspiracy reality, but there seems to be a lot of connections to the Jewish mafia potentially with this.
It's all a lie.
With the banking, with all of this.
I said, okay, well, you cut $600 million check. Are you now tracking that to check? And he goes, listen, you have to understand, JJ, nobody's following the money. No one cares. He says, you have to understand the federal government created a chaotic situation on the border. You have millions of people coming to the border. The Border Patrol, DHS, CBP, FEMA, no one has the resources, manpower to move millions of people from the border into America. That's where the NGOs come in.
Boom, exactly. Sean, sorry about the chat situation. What exactly is going on with that? What are the exact symptoms you're experiencing over there with the chat? And also, what is the Chobod in New York? Send me, I don't know what that is. Send me a link. I'm sorry for the confusion. Try changing your Zoom on Rumble.
The NGOs are the movement of people and goods into America. That is the evil partnership between the government and the NGOs.
I mean, this is like the exact same thing that was happening in World War I and World War II, using third world populations to destabilize Europe and pave the way for communist rule and solidifying communist rule in Europe, creating Russia, the Soviet Union, giving them half of Europe, Patton not being allowed to intervene in Yugoslavia and other countries that were being overthrown by communist Soviet Union during World War II, with the OSS, the American Office of Strategic Services, the precursor to the USA, being run by devout commie Wild Bill Donovan under commie FDR. It seems like we were taken over by the commies in 1913 when they put the Federal Reserve Bank in, and they've just been using the U.S., because it was Woodrow Wilson who signed the Federal Reserve Act, and then he brought us into World War I. It seems like the global international banker communists have just been puppeteering the U.S. and the U.K. to bring in communist reign all around the world for the past 100 plus years. It's freaking it's nuts. And they use third world populations as unwitting ground forces for destabilization, Cloward and Piven style. It's nuts.
Did he give you a sense, because we have a segment coming up here tonight, we're going to talk about the United Nations.
Probably right, Ed. bounce
their
off YouTube in a minute.
collaboration on all of this and bringing in military-aged men. Did he give you a sense of why most of these people that you've been seeing, of course, on camera, are military-aged men between the ages of 25, 35 years old? I think people out there think this idea of this like replacement theory that just sounds like a conspiracy theory, or the militarization of the United States, a sort of a United Nations army inside the United States and Europe to carry out plans for lockdowns, whatever it is. Did he give you a sense of why they all seem to be the same 25 to 35 year olds and they're all men?
He did, as well as many other investigative journalists that I have contacts with and my sources. They all believe that this is a military-style invasion. Let me just tell you how this looks to us. When you attack a nation, you attack from multiple points of entry. You don't attack, this is not the Middle Ages where I'm attacking the moat and the drawbridge. I'm attacking multiple areas. So once you do that, you attack multiple areas, you make the inroads into America. Now, the United States government, who I believe is the enemy of our people, has already...
They've been taken over. The government is no longer the U.S. government. They are commie puppets waging global warfare to bring in global communist government. This is exactly what's happening. The OSS, it's the Federal Reserve was the takeover of the U.S. monetary system. Give me control of a nation's money and I care not who makes its laws, the quote attributed to Mayer Rothschild. And then the creation of the OSS was the takeover of the government itself. And the 1947 National Security Act created the CIA, bringing commie Wild Bill Donovan, putting him in charge of the CIA and making everything that they do secret. Effectively, the most horrific and brutal terror organization of all time, operating without any oversight within the U.S. government, overthrowing countries around the world, assassinating political leaders, assassinating dissidents, thousands of assassinations. Sorry, guys, for the bad news, but we've been taken over by the communists since the early 1900s. And they solidified that control with World War II, it seems. And then they killed JFK, who tried to get, to allow the U.S. Treasury to print money again, backed by silver. And it all comes down to using banks to take over control of countries and then subverting the governments and taking control of them as well.
The pathways, the highways, the routes for the invasion to go into Middle America. So
and our own officials have lowered the drawbridges for the enemy forces to come in.
You advance. You keep advancing. So when people are talking about the military-age adult males that are pouring into our country, understand that they're anywhere from 50 to 70% of the total illegal population coming into America. We've been sold this lie that it's family units and babies and kids. Yes, there are that. But the single adult military-age men are in the millions, tens of millions in America. You're looking at, you mentioned this perfectly. It's happening in Europe.
That's right, Stryker.
Nothing happens in the world by happenstance. There's no willy-nilly, well, this is just how it's happened. It just happens that there's tens of millions of illegal,
for over 100 years.
middle military-age adult men pouring into, from the southern hemisphere, pouring into the western nations of the world. It's not by happenstance.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah, they painted McCarthy as a lunatic because he was right. McCarthy failed big time. By the time McCarthy realized what was going on, the communist tentacles were already wrapped around the foundations of all the American institutions. And the communists used America because of its powerful industrial engine. They kept the illusion of capitalism alive to keep a production going so they could leech off of our value and steal the vast portions of our productivity through the money, through inflation. So it seems like they intentionally kept industry active and the illusion of American capitalism functioning so that they could keep production high to bolster their own reserves and leech off of our productivity, which is just diabolical. And that's why brought women into the workforce to hide the fact that they were devaluing the currency, et cetera, as I've talked about before.
And it's hard. I know it's hard to hear somebody say the federal government is doing this. And it's hard to comprehend what the manifestation of this will be. But it will be devastation and destruction. And I always ask this question, Clayton. If you do not agree with my conclusion, if you do not agree with my analysis, then tell me why the federal government under Joe Biden has brought in 30 million illegal aliens into our country.
Yeah. Please give me an answer. All right, let's ditch YouTube, CommieTube, and Facebook and go Rumble and Exclusive. If you're new to the show, we cut the YouTube and Facebook feeds partway to help try to drag people over onto alt tech. We've barely got anybody watching. Nobody on Facebook and 4 people on YouTube. So sorry to ditch you guys if you can't make it over. Sorry about the chat issues going on with Rumble, but we got to deal with the growing pains, I guess, for a little bit. And so, yeah, we're going to go Rumble and Exclusive. Please come and join us if you're on one of the mainstream tech platforms right now. If you can't make it, sorry to have to ditch you, but we'll catch you on the flip side. Until then,